is Hootie. That's the way it works. But anyways, welcome back to another edition of Flashback to the Track. Yes, it's been a while, but don't your ears and eyes feel better now that you're seeing both myself, James, and Mark? He's back here by popular demand. That's right. No borders can shut down his appearance. No, he can't get fired because who's here to fire us or hire us?
True.
Yeah, no one's telling us we have to be here.
No, it's not. We just do this out of, the goodness of our hearts and our love for motorsport.
And for the wonderful people at Blue Emu who provide the world with maximum strength pain relief. And I mean, this is relief that looks like the world's strongest man, but is presented to you in the also visual of a teddy bear. So combine those two things and you get Blue Emu because it's maximum strength pain relief.
Blue Emu, man, in a wide variety of different products, continuous spray, recovery bath, the classic Blue Emu super strength. So variety of products. Blue Emu is doing some really cool stuff this year in NASCAR. If you're following NASCAR, sending drivers a box of product when they need some relief after the race, and they're letting fans vote on it. So, and James is doing some cool stuff with Blue Emu. So check all that out online. You can follow Blue Emu on Twitter at Blue Emu1.
Yeah, it works fast. It doesn't stink. You can also find them on Instagram at that handle. Funny story, actually. They had me go on a special assignment after the Xfinity race weekend. It was actually during the road course race weekend. So I was in Daytona on Friday and I'd left Friday night. And then I got a text Friday night too from the people at Blue Emu asking if I was still in Florida. And I was like, of course, because I was St. Pete. But if you're a geography major of the continental United States specifically, and the state of Florida, you know that St. Pete is about 3 hours southwest, of Daytona. Daytona's northeast of St. Pete, so about 3 hours, maybe about 2.5 if you're really booking it on I-4. So we go back up to Daytona the next day, specifically the Daytona Flea Market, where Blue Emu wanted me to pick up the front bumper of Landon Castle's Xfinity car that was wrecked the week before. I guess I don't know exactly how the flea market booth got the bumper, but normally we all know once a car is wrecked, basically the team's back in the garage cutting it up so they can get the car in the trailer. Well, they're not going to take fiberglass bits back with them. It's worthless. It's garbage. So why not just discard it there? Guess somebody picked it up from the track and then it was for sale at the booth. So went back, haggled with the salesman for a little bit after finding the bumper, which, Mark, it was like a hectic time to find the bumper in this flea market. Because
the rear bumper or the front bumper?
Front bumper. Okay. But just like from basically the grill opening back to where just before the fenders. So like that whole front section, basically, I guess the whole piece you could buy from 5-star stock car bodies, because it's got the stamp on the inside. But anyways, this flea market, man, I swear, it put the Mall of America to shame in size. I mean, it was just insane. And we walked around it for like 20 minutes. I don't think we even covered a fourth of the property worth of booths. So, and this is about 2:30. So like we see some booths are closing. We're like, oh crap, we're never going to find this thing. And we only have a photo to go off of like the bumper photographed inside the booth. So we kind of have an understanding of what the booth looks like and how the bumper might look like in the booth. But beyond that, we have no idea about where this booth is. We turn a corner. Kaylin, for some reason, just sees it out of her eye. And then we're like, cool, there's the bumper. Haggled with the guy for a bit, got it, and told the people at Blue Emu they are now going to be the proud owners of that bumper. And Mark, I think the best part of the story, and this is for you, buddy. You know what color that bumper was underneath that wrap?
What was it?
Red. You know what car it was?
You know what team Landon Castle drives for?
Yeah, what team was it?
JD Motorsports.
There you go. Your favorite
team.
red colored car team in the Xfinity Series.
Got 4 cars and they're all red. Actually, you know what? This year they've got a lot of different partners on their cars and full wraps on their cars. So they're not just red anymore. They're all over the place. And that's good to see them growing, you know, and getting more partners. So
it was good branding initially for the team because, you know, I remember you know, the Johnny Davis Motorsports team initially, and they always had we always knew them from the 01 and that number font, but like beyond that, they always just ran white cars, and there was just so
zero.
clean.
Yeah, there was the white zero, right?
Yeah.
Curtis Davis drove like back, you know, like Johnny Davis's son. So
in the Race Girl sponsorship, I always remember those for years. Race Girl
Pabst Blue Ribbon on the hood one. I remember
that was a baller sponsor back when they got
I
that.
remember. Yeah,
that was before it was hipster again. You know, that was just what Pabst.
That was when it was just like a working man's beer. You know, now it's like what people in Portland drink.
Design the next Pabst can, and you'll be the next designer to take over the world of design and everything. It's such a trendy beer, but hey, for the price point, you can't beat it, I guess. So,
well, James, on this podcast, we review old races, and what race are we reviewing today?
So, Mark, we're looking back at what is the first ever road course race for the NASCAR Truck Series in the history of the NASCAR Truck Series. I'm talking about a 175 miler at Topeka Park, Kansas, Heartland Park, Topeka. It's a beautiful one, Mark. What's the name of this race?
This is the 1995 Heartland Tailgate 175.
Is that an actual company, or do you think that's just like they just
I
had
don't think
2
so.
words?
I think they just wanted people to come and tailgate. And it is 175 kilometers or 108 miles.
175. What a number. It seems short, but I mean, when you're road course racing, it's just going to feel like forever because it's road course racing. These circuits are long. But Mark, this is not that long of a circuit. You know, Heartland Park can be, you know, about 2 miles, but not this version.
No, this is a very short circuit. This is a 1.8 mile road course, 10 turns. You're pretty much, other than the front straightaway, which is actually comprised of a drag strip, a permanent drag strip at Topeka. You're pretty much turning constantly. There are only 2 right-hand turns. It's mostly all lefts. So you also have to be very careful, keep your truck on track because there's no runoff area really anywhere. You're right in the grass. You're dipping tires off into the grass all the time. So really a classic American circuit in that way where not a lot of room for error and track limits just kind of police themselves because if you go in the grass, that's not going to be good for you. So
no, because there's not a lot of nice tires to run into. No, it's all hard concrete walls. So you're going to hit something. And if you do, you're probably going to end your day. So it's a very technical course, even though it is a very short course. Now, we have covered the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series or the NASCAR Supertruck Series before on this podcast. But, you know, that was the first race. And we're not going to go back and divulge about everything that is the Super Trucks or the Truck Series. But we will look specifically at what is going on at this point in the 1995 point series, where we have Mike Skinner as the points leader by 12 points over Joe Ruttman, with Butch Miller in a firm third. 3 veterans from 3 different disciplines of stock car racing, all here in the Truck Series. Miller had just won recently in Colorado, which helped him climb up into the 3rd place point standing. So it's a very competitive, heated time in the Truck Series, Mark. A lot of competitors from all over stock car racing.
But fun fact, James, did you know that there are only 5 different winners in the previous 11 races before this 12th race at Topeka, and only 4 of them were full-time competitors? And do you know who the one part-time competitor was that won?
Oh, he's the kind of guy who just dips his toes into everything. Fun-loving Ken Schrader, who was competing in the Truck Series as a driver owner at the time. He had won. I forgot which track he had won at, though.
Yeah, I can't remember. You know, I can.
Oh, excuse me. He was Sawgrass Speedway. He won at Sawgrass.
Yes.
Race number 3 at that point in the season. And that was kind of, I remember that rewatching the season was kind of big because it was like, oh, finally a Cup guy came in and like conquered the Truck Series, truck whacking, if you will. But still pretty cool that this series, even in its infancy, was driving like a lot of the Cup guys to not only just compete, but also like establish teams in it and really like, you know, build the series as well.
Yeah, and it had printed all veterans that had won so far the year, and this really was like a series of veterans at the time. It was all a lot of West Coast drivers that were in their 30s and 40s, and kind of got a second lease on life because of the truck series. So the only guys that had won were Mike Skinner, Ron Hornaday, Butch Miller, who had won previously, and Joe Ruttman. So a bunch of older guys, kind of getting a second lease on life in the truck series. We talked about the track. So, James, I think it's time to go into everybody's favorite segment.
Oh, that's strange starters.
What a strange person.
Boy, this field is stacked full of them. Mark, why don't you get us started?
Well, starting off, we have the legend himself. We have Walker Evans, and he's driving the number 20 Dodge for his own team. That's right. He's driving a Dodge, one of, I believe, only 2 Dodges in the field. Dodge was not really a big deal in the truck series yet. Yes, there were only 2 Dodges in the field that day, himself and Brian Keselowski? Yes, Bob Keselowski, sorry. Walker Evans is the king of off-road racing, man. He's one of the kings of the Score series. He's done all kinds of off-road racing in trucks and different vehicles. And in 1995, decided to give the truck series a try, and he ran 2 full seasons. I think he ended up with just a handful of top 10s over those 2 seasons. So asphalt racing wasn't really his thing, but he diversified his portfolio, James, and that's something that we respect.
Yes, and he had that factory money, and it's hard to say no to factory money when it's coming your way. Next up, we have Daryl Waltrip. That's right, Jaws, all Waltrip. He's going to be driving the number 52 AC Delco Chevrolet for Ken Schrader Racing. Now, this is Daryl Waltrip's Truck Series debut. It's an off weekend for the Cup Series, so relax. No one's getting, out of their Cup ride to come run a truck. It was kind of nice for Daryl to have an off weekend and say, yeah, I'll go run a truck, because he's subbing for Ken Schrader, the not injured Ken Schrader, who actually had a scheduling conflict with an IROC event that was in Michigan. Same day, decided to do the IROC race instead of come run the truck. He was not injured because he flipped at Talladega the week before. Even though he did step out of the ASA ride, he had the next day because his shoulder was hurting. It wasn't because of that, scheduling conflict. Don't read into it. And fun fact about Waltrip, he would actually go on to form his own truck series team 3 races later. And their first race was actually at Richmond, and he was the number 17 Western Auto Chevrolet at the time. It wasn't the diehard team that would become in 1996, 1997. I believe Rich Bickle was like his driver after that, pretty much after that point.
Up next, we have Butch Gilliland, and he's driving the number 06 Ultra Wheels Ford for Ultra Motorsports, one of Jim Smith's several trucks in the field. And Butch Gilliland, the name Gilliland, he's the father of David Gilliland, who's now obviously a longtime Cup Series driver and now owner in the Truck Series. And Butch is like a legendary West Coast racer. If you're from the West Coast, you've probably heard of him racing in, the regional NASCAR series. And he usually ran the West Coast Truck and Cup Series races every year. And he's making his 5th and final start of the 1995 season for Jim Smith. He did have a top 10 at Saugus earlier that year. I think he actually ran the first 4 races, then funding kind of went away, and then they decided to run Topeka, and then this was his last race of the year.
Next up, we have Rick Hendrick in the number 25 Budweiser Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. That's right, not Ricky, the Rick Hendrick. Now, in the late 70s, Rick actually founded a drag racing team and did a little bit of drag boat racing himself. Since then, he actually started 2 Cup Series races, both at Riverside, with a best finish of 15th back in 1988. And before this event, the last time he had ever been in a race car was in 1991 for an ARCA event that also happened to be at Topeka. He is making his Truck Series debut, and it would be the only career start he would ever make in the Truck Series, which is kind of funny because his truck looks just like the Winston Cup car he owns, the number 25 that was driven by Ken Schrader at the time.
Yeah, Rick Hendrick with 3 trucks in this race.
He's flexing. I mean, I don't know how many other than Walker. Well, no, Walker Evans at the time didn't own multiple trucks. So, man, he's probably one of the few people. No, the Brian Semos team, or the
Roush 2 has 3, I think.
Mark Semos has had 2 trucks.
Yeah, just racks on racks on racks of trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, Davy Jones, and he's driving the number 18 Rollrig Racing. Chevy Rollrig Racing is a classic truck series team from the mid 90s. He's really known for his USAC. He's really known as being a part-time kart and IMSA driver, as well as making some starts in IndyCar. He did dabble in NASCAR a little bit in Cup and trucks, and this is actually Davy Jones' Truck Series debut. So, like many drivers in this race, making his debut.
Next up, we have Sammy Swindell in the number 38 Ford for Aikens Sutton Motorsports. Known for his USAC midget career, also known as the man who holds the lap record in a sprint car at Bristol Motor Speedway on dirt. We covered that on a podcast before. It was pretty dope. Swindell ran full-time in the Truck Series in 1995. He had competed in NASCAR and previously in IndyCar before.
And up next, we have Jerry Glanville, the coach, driving the number 81 Ford for his own Glanville Motorsports team. And if you don't know about Jerry Glanville, he was actually just recently on the Dale Jr. download, so you can go check that out. But he had a legendary NFL head coach and defensive coordinator, really more known as a defensive coordinator, but he was briefly the head coach of the Oilers and the Atlanta Falcons. And fun fact, I briefly worked with Jerry Glanville when I worked in the Canadian Football League when he was a coach for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So he has a lot of fun stories to tell. He used to run ARCA and trucks in the 90s, and he even ran ARCA into the early 2000s on top of being a football coach. And check out Jerry Glanville on the Dale Jr. download because he tells some really cool stories on that podcast.
Next up, we have Mark Simo in the number 94 Ford for Irvin Simos Motorsports, making his Truck Series debut. The co-owner of Irvin Simos Motorsports, another team he also co-owned, was No Fear Racing. He had fielded trucks throughout the late 90s for drivers like Brian Rempner and also Boris Said. This was really the only time the team ever ran number 94, because it's ironic and cohesive because the other truck he owns is number 84 in the field. And of course, we all know him for his pop culture acclaim founding the No Fear clothing brand. I've never seen a piece of No Fear clothing, honestly, Mark. I've seen the energy drink, but I've never seen the clothing.
I think you have. You just don't know that you have. Because there were like slogans and stuff. I think you've definitely seen No Fear clothing at a racetrack before.
I think maybe, no, I mean, like not in a racetrack. I mean, like just in like, if you're shopping at the mall at a retail space, like I don't think I've seen No Fear branded clothing.
It's not where you buy it, man.
Maybe like at a PacSun, if they have those.
You were just at a flea market. You probably could have bought some there.
No, there's too many like Trump 2024 flags, so it's kind of oversaturated.
Up next, we have Terry Labonte, Texas. Terry is driving the number 5 Chevy for Hendrick Motorsports, and this is going to be Terry's Truck Series debut. And the reason Terry's able to be here is because it's an off weekend for the Cup Series. It's a rare off weekend in the middle of the summer after Pocono. They had an off week between Pocono and Indy. So Terry decides to come up here. He also ran the ASA race the next day. And the cool thing about Terry's truck is it's got the DuPont Rainbow Warriors paint scheme on it, but it's a number 5. So it looks really cool. He kept his Winston Cup number, but he's driving, the same paint scheme as his teammate Scott Legacy. So,
it's actually kind of funny because, like, if you were a spotter, you would not be able to distinguish the two trucks from each other. Like, thankfully,
but we're on a road course, James. We don't need spotters. We're fine.
Just use your mirrors, I guess. Whatever mirrors are available. Finally, to wrap it up, we have Todd Beaudine in the number 61 Ford for Roush Racing. This would be Todd Beaudine's Truck Series debut. He would run 5 races during the year for Roush Racing, and this is actually Roush Racing's debut in the Truck Series. It's their first ever race in the Truck Series, and it's very fitting because it comes on a road course, a discipline that Roush holds near and dear, as we've looked back on in the past at the NASCAR teams that used to be in like IMSA back in the day. It's crazy that they decided to like choose this road course. So hopefully maybe they can flex their road course prowess on the field today.
Yeah, you should go check out that video that we made on our YouTube channel. We'll just plug that real quick. Yeah, NASCAR teams and sports car racing. Go check it out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's fun facts to learn about a lot of those teams. But let's get into the broadcast notes for this event. Biggest thing you got to know is this is a TNN event. The Nashville Network is covering this baby. So in the booth, we got Rick Benjamin, but then you also got Larry Mack Reynolds and Ernie Irvan making guest appearances in the booth. Ernie Irvan at this time was, injured from his wreck in Michigan, still recovering. He was able to do some color commentary, and Larry McReynolds also, a crew chief at the time. It's great that you get these two insider voices that are like in the sport and give you like the exact know-how of what exactly is going on at this point too. And then on pit road, we've got the ever faithful Glenn Jarrett and the super versatile Ralph Shaheen. So, Mark, would you call this an excellent lineup or not?
I think it's a fantastic lineup. Shaheen on pit road with Glenn Jarrett, and like I said, you said before, you got Ernie Irvan, who's jumped out of a car, so he's going to provide some great analysis. Larry McReynolds, still an active crew chief, and Rick Benjamin is just the glue that holds this whole group together. A solid network guy.
Yeah, and not only that, Ernie Irvan is a truck owner too, man. He's not only like a race car driver, he's also been like, he put the car owner hat on too. So it's like you got the triple forces up there in the booth with just, Larry and Ernie. So you got glue too with Rick Benjamin. So Mark, some pre-race notes. Give us a little info specifically about this event.
Well, we mentioned this before. This is a relatively short race. It is just 175 kilometers or 108 miles, which comes out to, Matt James, if you do the math, 60 laps. Now, Ron Hornaday is going to start from the pole in his number 16 Papa John's pizza truck for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. Dale Earnhardt, Truck Series owner. And this race is not going to have live pit stops. So back then, very few truck races did. There's going to be a halftime break at lap 30. So once we complete 30 laps, we're going to just chill for like 15, 20 minutes. Everybody can bring up pit road, have some orange slices and a bottle of water. And we'll do another 30 and we'll determine who wins. You can only pit under green if you have some sort of like mechanical issue or you need a flat tire. There's no fueling or anything like that can happen under green. So
you do the math. Nobody beats Aaron's. That's right. For sales, lease, and ownership, nobody beats Aaron's. That's all that I could think of after you told me to do the math.
And people say that the advertising doesn't work. Oh, it does.
Oh, it does. Especially how many times we see it in a race, just repetitively get in your head. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of ads in this race. Especially because it just gets right into the meats and potatoes. Once you start watching, it's like green flag's out, green flag, and then you're into it. I mean, like seriously, Mike, this is a rough upload. Jeez.
Hey man, that's how my type of races start. When like I turn the broadcast on, the trucks are rolling off pit road. I'm like, let's go. Like I don't need any pre-race. Let's just race.
I like the color stuff, but I guess this was a very crunched air race. Just to give a quick heads up too. So there's no post race as well because they had to get off of the air.
They had to go to another Busch Grand National race.
Exactly, they had another live race to cover, so gotta switch it up. And it's the 90s, so the Nashville network is essentially your home for all things stock car racing and motorsports in North America. But the race is green. Ron Hornaday is going to lead into the turn 1 section, and man, Mark, I don't know about you, but they call it 5 wide going down the front straightaway. I call BS, man. That's not.
They're not really 5 wide.
Like 3 wide, maybe.
They're maybe 2 wide, but it looks like they're 5 wide if you take a photo from the front. But there's this thing called depth. So they're not actually 5 wide.
Rick Benjamin's pretty good at selling some stuff, but he didn't fool me on that one. Okay.
It's all about selling entertainment. But James, there's problems right away. Mike Skinner, our points leader, he started third. He started second. He spins off into the grass on the outside of turn 1. And now he's all the way at the back of the field by the time he gets it righted and back on track. So he's going to be playing from behind now. He's going to have to try and get back up through the field.
Yeah, he's pretty deep in the field, but you know what? It's all because of Scott Lagacy Sr. It seemed like the number 24 Rainbow truck made a little bit of contact with that black truck of Skinner in the first turn because Lagacy was sideways and in the grass. Mark, we should put a spin counter on him, and I'll give him 1 right there. I mean, he didn't spin, but he technically spun somebody, so I'll give him a mark for that one.
Legacy was apparently upset with his qualifying run. He thought he'd get a pole run being an IMSA guy, but didn't quite get there. But early on in this one, there is some very close battling on track, and we get some great camera angles. Like James and I were talking about this before the recording. That man, back in the 90s, the Truck Series just had some of the best broadcasting, some of the best Truck Series angles. Like the in camera Like the in-car cameras are just unbelievable. And you get to see the bridge camera, James, mounted at the Winston Select Bridge. Like, we really need more bridge cams. And like, why doesn't Dover have a bridge cam? Come on.
I think Dover still has it. I mean, it's had it every now and then, but
But
I
it
feel
needs
like
to
it's
be like this. I need a shot of them going by and then a shot as they go. You know what I mean? They shot of them coming towards me and then we cut to the other one while they're going away. Come on.
I
Winston
want to
Select.
I want to shake the hand of that you know, who would technically have the role of that? The director of photography. Shake the hand of that person, because like watching the ASA race from the day after too, they used some of the same camera angles and it was baller and amazing. You know, just TNN also was the broadcast of choice of that race, so I thought it was amazing, like just amazing shots throughout the race. And then like the best part is even some of the longer shots throughout the track where, because you know there are a lot of like telephoto shots where it's just like pan, zoom out as the trucks come towards you. Those cameras do a great job battling the heat that rises from the surface, because that heat haze is something we battle, Mark, and it's a pain. And those are some really great lenses that are battling through that and actually cutting through it and getting a good picture for us all.
The broadcasters, the camera operators that shoot sports are some of the best in the world, especially auto racing with, you know, the pans they have to do and whatnot and keeping the trucks in focus. Just, you know, tip your hat to all the camera operators out there because they do an amazing job. So,
but you know who's doing the best job right now is Larry McReynolds, because he's giving us the insights and the know-how. In fact, he's going to tell us that these trucks, you know, they're running short road course style, you know, setups on these chassis, because technically they're turning left a lot more than they're turning right in Topeka. So why not just run your road course setup as a short track setup? I think that's kind of interesting. But you know, I'd say Hornaday can turn left and right. He might have one of those, you know, dual chassis, my man, because he is like light years ahead of the field. Just checking out.
yeah, and Hornaday, not really a guy that gets mentioned a lot when we talked about like gifted road racers in
Mm-mm.
NASCAR, but he can turn left and right with the best of them, man. If you look at his stats in like even in the Busch series and whatnot, like he's been very good on road courses. So don't
Oh
sleep
yeah.
on Ron Hornaday.
No, and even at Topeka, because they ran from 1995 to 1999 at Topeka, Hornaday like had like really great success throughout each run. I'd highly recommend going and looking back at each Topeka race, because he's had top 5 starts and top 10 runs and top 10 runs in basically every finish at Topeka.
But then we get our first caution. We get to break in the action. Kerry Teague in the 51, he spins and he goes off turn 2 and he hits the wall hard, James, to see in a replay. Luckily, the
Yeah.
safety crew is there quickly, but they did airlift Kerry to a local hospital. So
And it's something we got to touch on here, because like the broadcast really doesn't give us a lot of insight even initially at the incident when it happened. Like we really couldn't tell exactly how hard the impact was until there was replays, because initially you didn't see anything. You just see a truck sitting there and some speculation from the booth. But the facts were Kerry Teague was fine. Apparently he was released. He had some slight pain in his right leg, and he would go on to make one more start in his NASCAR Truck Series career. Unfortunately, that would be his final start, and had nothing to do with this crash. He had no injuries from this crash that would affect him in NASCAR. Just bad luck, I guess.
but let's use this caution period, James. Let's use it to our advantage, and let's hear from Ron Hornaday's crew chief, Doug Richard.
Well, you know, we're not running quite as good as we'd like right now, even though we're in the lead. He's complaining a little bit of some looseness, so it's a long race, and we're just trying to look for the second half right now. So we can kind of baby it along here and look towards halftime and maybe do a little work on it.
Now, you were saying he was talking about most of the looseness is when he's turning left. That's got to be a big problem here.
Well, the last report I got, we're a little loose both ways, so that gives us a little something more to think about for halftime, and we'll make some more adjustments, and Papa John's Racing Collectible Chevrolet, hopefully he'll be running a little stronger on the second half. That's when it counts.
So Hornaday's loose turning left, which is almost like every turn on the track, but he's still checking out on the field. So, James, loose is fast.
So this caution, it took a bit to, you know, get Kerry out of the car or out of the truck basically, and everything cleaned up. But once we get back going, it's lap 18. We have a restart and intense racing throughout the pack. I mean, it's great. These specifically the road course races were one of the few races on the schedule where there wouldn't be lap trucks on the inside. So it was single file still for their restarts, but it was all lead lap trucks. So basically, once the green was out, you just got motor and you didn't have to battle any lap trucks if you're the leaders. And we saw some great battling up front. Unfortunately, one of the biggest losers in those battles was Todd Beaudine, who was running in more than impressive second at the time. He slipped all the way back to 5th in a lap mark. Jeez, things happen fast and everybody pounces even quicker.
And it could have been worse because Scott Legacy Sr. has spun. So James counts up to 2.
Man, 2 shots right there for Scott Legacy Jr. But you know what? He got it righted. He's going. Hopefully he can salvage something for the rest of this day. And let's give a shout out really quick to Tommy Archer in the number 03 truck mark. Okay. This is his second ever Truck Series start, having a great run in the top 15. Could be the top 10. I don't know, Mark. There's no live scoring in this race, but he's got a cool sponsor. I think it's the state of Minnesota's on his truck, man. That's pretty dope. He's got his whole state behind him.
State of Minnesota. And as we race on, what's going on with halfway? You know, it seems like no one in the booth has an idea of when the halfway break will occur. Is it this lap or no? I think they have to run 30 and then an extra one, right? To make sure it's half.
32 and a half. Who knows? But I'll tell you who does know. Joe Ruttman knows to go around Ron Hornaday. He makes a pass going into turn 1. Hornaday slips back to second. It seems like we got to run one more lap, Mark, and then it's halfway. But here's my question. Who led it halfway at that point then? Did Ron Hornaday lead it halfway or did Joe Ruttman? Because there's money getting given out at that point. That's what I care about is my money.
Well, officially Joe Ruttman got that extra $1,000 for winning. He won the first stage, James.
No
stage
points
racing
given out.
Before stage racing.
But technically, if you think about a reward for that, Joe Ruttman gets to go on the pit road. He sits in his pit block first because, it's halfway break. There's no gain or loss, but when he comes off pit road, he gets to line up first again. So technically for this restart, he restarts first. So I guess that's the advantage of winning that stage or winning halfway, winning the first half, I guess. That's the technical term.
Congratulations, Joe. You won lap 30.
You won the first half. Congratulations.
So restart comes after halfway at lap 32. Ron Hornaday wastes no time, though. He makes a move to the bottom of Joe Ruttman as the leaders enter turn 1. And meanwhile, Scott Legacy Sr., he spun again. But he gets it going and rejoins the race. But now he's up to 3. He's
up to 3. That's 3 spins right there. I mean, this isn't baseball, but he would have been out by now. I mean, if this was USAC, he would have been out by the second.
I was going to say, yeah, he's got out of the race. Get out of here.
Yeah, USAC rules. But speaking of second, the second actual caution comes out, technically caution number 3, but the second actual caution for an on-track incident when Davy Jones has an issue with his number 18 truck. Seems like some smoke comes out of the truck entering what is turn 9, and then just as he goes into turn 10, he loops it. Seems like more smoke comes out, so he jumps out of the truck and immediately helps the safety worker put the fire out on his race truck. You got to save the race car. Very smart there, Davey. Very smart.
And now I've got an old school battle heating up between Terry Labonte and Daryl Waltrip. Waltrip in 4th. He's ahead of Labonte in 5th with the 2 Winston Cup champions chasing fellow Winston Cup competitor Todd Beaudine in 3rd. So we got a bunch of Cup guys invading this race, but you know what? We forgive them because they're providing us with great racing. And James, so many of these all-star guys competed in the Truck Series in the 1995 season.
Yeah, and it's not just like NASCAR Winston Cup guys. You got guys who have competed in ASA who are ASA champions. You have people who have competed in the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series. You have people from all over different disciplines of racing. We mentioned Walker Evans earlier, Davy Jones, PJ Jones. There's so many drivers.
Sammy Swindell as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the mixture of talent in the Truck Series in this initial inaugural year. I love it. I wish we could talk about it more. And we do get to see it a bit more in the Truck Series, more so than other series, because it is like that first tier series in NASCAR at this point. But I always love that about it. It makes it just more fun to see so many people from different backgrounds competing on the same circuit in these trucks. But man, back to that battle. It looks like Mike Skinner and Rick Corelli, 2 Truck Series regulars, they're joining it. Corelli, he's a staple stock car racer from out west. It's a 5-truck battle now for, was that 5th? Yeah, 5-truck battle for 5th, man.
And James, we have to add to the spin count. So Scott Legacy Sr., he was on 3. Well, I spoke too soon. So his number 24 is sitting on course in turn 6. It looks like he got some help from PJ Jones, but he gets it going and then half spins coming out of turn 9. So
I guess that's a 2 right there. But technically, PJ Jones did spin him first. He might have a tire that's down, but he seems like he's going to keep going. Unfortunately for Jones, though, the former IMSA GTO and GTU competitor, he's going to finish 22nd because he's going to have some overheating issues that could have plagued from that contact. Could be from earlier off-course excursions, because he has been very exciting on and off the course throughout the day. But for PJ, his race is over. He would make one more start in the truck series at IRP for this team, and then afterwards he was released. The very next year he went on to kart. So, and then he would come back like 6 years later. So PJ Jones.
Kart career did not go super well, but he came back to NASCAR and was a road course ringer for many years to come, as well as running all kinds of oval races too. So
he got a top 5 in 2002, wasn't it? 2002 at Watkins Glen, he got top 5.
Yeah, and he ran a bunch of oval races too. So
he's just a talented shoe. Just a shame that he couldn't stay in the truck series for a while, because even at this point, I feel like he had a top 5 and 2 top 10s at this point.
I think if he stuck with it, had an opportunity. Could have been a great NASCAR driver. But that 5-truck battle we were talking about earlier, James, for third, so it's thinned out into a 2-truck battle between Terry Labonte and Todd Beaudine. Beaudine, he can keep Labonte at bay for now, but Terry is he's right in the back of that number 61 Roush truck with no sponsors on it, just a white truck.
You call that a battle. I call that a brawl. Those two are scrappy. But you know what? Terry, he's cool as ice, man. Just chilling back there, waiting for Todd to make a move. It's another great battle, but we're going to get interrupted by the 3rd full course yellow for an on-track incident today. This is the 4th caution overall, as there's a truck stopped on track. And unfortunately, it's Sammy Swindell, the number 38 channel lock Ford. I always love saying the channel lock. It's always such a cool truck, but smoking. Sammy's out of the truck. Seems like an engine failure. He's done for the day. And you know what? He stopped in the front straight away, and they're going to have to throw a caution to retrieve that truck. There are no local yellows in this race, Mark. There are only full course cautions too. So it's not like something can just happen and they're just going to localize the incident. That always is going to result in a full course yellow.
Even with how small the track was, they didn't even need to when guys spun, you just get it going and get back on track. It's the way it should be. It's a road course.
This was back in the day when people had pride, and if you spun, you got going and you just got going. NASCAR wasn't going to throw a caution for you. Nowadays, NASCAR just throws a caution if you sit long enough, which is
you purposely pull out and throw up a bunch of smoke so they throw a caution.
Yeah, or basically the idea is always what, I'm gonna make everyone else's day the worst possible day they can have now, because my day has gone the worst possible way it could have. So it just doesn't really work out well. But hey, whatever floats your boat, drivers. But Mark, what this caution sets up is a late race restart. And we're not double file. No, it's a single file restart, but still it's a late race restart. Can Joe Ruttman do anything with Ron Hornaday? Or is Ron Hornaday just going to walk away with this race?
Well, as they go green, Hornaday gets a great restart. He falls out to a 3-trunk length lead on Ruttman before they even get to the first turn. But the real battle
master.
The real battle's behind them, James. Todd Beaudine and Mike Skinner are battling. Mike Skinner's back in the top 5 after spinning at the beginning, and they're battling in the top 5. Then Rick Corelli, he spins off track, but he gets it turned around, and then Hornaday's got an even bigger lead, and there's great battling continues, and Terry Labonte's dipping tires off the course. The guys are just digging for everything they can in these last couple of laps. Rick Benjamin even mistakenly says it's the white flag lap when it's not. But
he's just so excited, man. It's exciting racing. But when the white flag does come out, it seems like Ron Hornaday is in Texas and everyone else is still chilling in Kansas, because he is so far out in front of the pack. I mean, there's no way Joe Ruttman's going to catch him. So really it's the battle throughout the pack. Hornaday's going to just lead this lap, runs the perfect race, and basically gets the trifecta. He leads the most laps, has the pole, and wins the race. But you know what, Mark? It still pisses me off, because there was a lap that Joe Ruttman led and Hornaday didn't. And Hornaday should have led it.
It would have been a perfect day.
Could have been the perfect day.
Not given up that lead before the halftime break, and then he led every single lap.
It's like he had a no-hitter instead of a perfect game.
Yeah, but we have to you have to take some points away for that, because it's not as impressive because there's no live pit stops. So there's no cycling, right? So he actually led, not like when Jeff Burton led all the laps at New Hampshire that one time, way back in the first ever episode of Flashback to the Track, the race that we covered from 2000, where he led every single lap and there was like pit stops and everything. So,
I mean, Kyle Busch has led Xfinity races too, every single lap with like with cautions and everything too. I feel like what would make, I think
I'm not
just
taking
not
it away
getting
from him.
past-
It's still impressive.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like you're not satisfied. Like you would be satisfied having a Papa John's pizza. I mean, like, you know, when you got a sponsor like that, you got to be perfect. You got to have like every lap led. You have to have the best race. Like Papa John's has the best ingredients to make the best pizza. It's not a plug for Papa John's. This was just funny that like at this point they had that sponsor and people always forget like it was the Papa John's number 16 at this time.
Not Napa, because everyone always thinks of it as being Napa, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was that one was so iconic and it lasted so many years. But the 1 year where it's Papa John's, it's such a random sponsor too. Was this at the time?
They had no sponsor for a while.
Yeah, it was like they had like
John's.
Diecast Digest on there and just like action on the rear of the deck lid.
That's when you know it's going bad. When there's like a car driving around like with Team Caliber on the side, you're like, oh god, like that's not good.
Well, I mean, even look at the Roush truck. It had like Roush logos all over it, but you know, to your point, it didn't have a sponsor. There was a lot of them. Even Walker Evans, the hood of his truck didn't have any sponsors. I mean, there was a couple on the side.
But okay, sidebar, James. Why did teams back then put Roush Racing on the hood when they don't have a sponsor? Like, why would you even get a decal printed? That costs money.
Yeah, I feel like, well, for Roush, it's all about their brand. So it's like, you know,
I guess
it could just be another white
products
truck
and stuff like that. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Plug
that, but
your
it's also like, you know, that's just not the white truck out there. That's the white and blue Roush truck. You know, there's like the team branding that goes along with it. I feel like that's really the only point I could make, but you know, it is a little counterintuitive because at times it makes people think you have a sponsor, and sometimes you really want that sponsor and you don't want to like misinform people and be like, hey, you know, looks like we're sponsored, but like really you're just trying to make the truck look decent because, you know, it's better to look decent than to look plain. So I don't know, it's a double-edged sword.
That's why you go the Ashton Lewis route and you just put your ad here on the side of.
No, you call 1-800 sponsor me. If that's like good enough for the amount of characters that it would require to have an 800 number sponsor me. But yeah, this was a good race, man. You know, other than, you know, the fact that nowadays, you know, the crew can't just like jump on the back of the truck and ride on down to victory lane. But other than that, let's go through the top 10 finishers in this race because we had Ron Hornaday as the winner over Joe Ruttman. I mean, that was, I don't know about you, Mark. I kind of saw that coming. Like at this point, Hornaday was very dominant in the truck series, and there was like some tracks where he would go to, and you knew once he just had the lead early on, it was just kind of like a Ron Hornaday kind of day, unless Mike Skinner was going to come back late, which he kind of did. But through the rundown, Terry Labonte finishes third, Todd Beaudine fourth, Mike Skinner impressive fifth. Because I mean, the guy didn't need to win the race; he was out there trying to points race as the points leader. It was all about having the lead over Joe Ruttman at the end of the day. Then you had Daryl Waltrip, an impressive sixth in his debut. Jack Sprague, number 31, not for Hendrick Motorsports at this point, finished seventh. Butch Miller finished eighth. Mike Bliss, the man, the myth, the strange starter, finished ninth. And that guy, Tommy Archer, he finished 10th, top 10 for the number 03. Great job for him in the great state of Minnesota Office of Tourism.
Started 28th too.
Great run, second start. Didn't make many other starts later on in his career, but definitely probably a highlight of his career to have that top 10. It was a pretty cool, diverse top 10, I would say, because you got like mixture of some road ringers and everything. But I think the most shocking part, Mark, is 12th place. Went to Scott Lagasse Sr. Scott Lagasse Sr. finished 12th after all those spins. How many spins did he have? Like 5?
I think it was officially like 4. So 4 spins and finished 12th. Not bad, but like, man, he had a top 5 run going and it just didn't work out. And like you said, he was upset that he didn't get the pole because he thought this was a perfect race for him. So, you know, it's too bad. But really cool that, you know, that first year of the truck series, you know, Rick Hendrick went with Scott Lagasse as his full-time driver, his full-time truck. You know, I think that's kind of cool to go with kind of a left field pick, you know, but you know, Rick Hendrick's a big IMSA guy and a big fan of road racing. So why not give this guy a chance?
Yeah, he's competed himself too, so he probably had a different view than most people probably thought. You know, it's kind of how like when Jeff Gordon initially picked Jimmy Johnson, everyone was like, "Man, you crazy, man? You see what this guy's track record was?" But you know, I guess he had some flashes of brilliance. You know, it's one of those things like PJ Jones. You just wish he could have stuck with it for more than a season, or just have more than the time that he had. He could have maybe perfected it and got the craft better, but you just never know. And life just has a way of working things out, and it's always about going to the next deal and moving on. So, hey, it is what it is. It's racing, and that's life.
It is what it is, as our friend Juan Pablo Montoya would say.
It is what it is.
Well, James, I think we really need to talk about, before we rate this race, we talk about what we learned from this race. So, James, what did you learn from this 1995 Truck Series Topeka event?
Well, you know, the biggest thing I learned is that we should not skimp on any road course for this series. I feel like this series just, you know, it's evident from its first year, has had a ingrainment or just fusion from road racing in it. And I think it should always have road racing, and it should always go to different road courses that won't be, you know, on the Cup Series or Xfinity Series schedule, because, you know, their events alone are fantastic. This wasn't the main event of this weekend. This was a preliminary race. The next day was the ASA, you know, race, 300 miler, or I think it was a 300 kilometer race. And that was pretty cool, because, like, you know, the first day you have like the truck race, the next day you have an ASA race. Maybe this could be like the truck races before the IndyCar race. You know, I think that would be cool. And I feel like that's something that, and I really learned, is like, you know, we were always used to seeing like Sonoma or all these other courses, but, you know, why don't we go back to Topeka and Heartland Park? Why don't we go to Road America? Or why don't we go, not Road America. Why don't we go to Road Atlanta? Why don't we go to VIR? Or you know, just some of these other tracks that are different and provide different technical aspects, because this isn't like a very technical course, but it has a technical feature or two, and that's, I think, really more than enough to be entertaining with these trucks and the way these drivers, you know, perform on these kinds of races.
Yeah,
What about you, Mark?
well, what I learned, so one easy thing I learned is that this was Roush Racing's first truck race. So that I didn't know that until I watched it. You know, I didn't realize that the midway through 95 was the first time I entered, and Todd Beaudine was their first driver. So that was really interesting. Number 61, weird number for them. But a number they used again later on in sports car racing. So in the Continental Tire Series, which is now the Michelin Pilot Challenge. I also learned that basically the same thing James did, that we should basically never skimp on road courses, man. Like in NASCAR, I know a lot of people are concerned with the number of road courses that NASCAR is going to now, especially the Cup Series, 6 in one season. I think it's perfect. You know, I think I like road course racing. I think a lot of the time, like James and I talk about this a lot when we're on like road trips and stuff, that like we wish the truck series was like it used to be, like where it was like all short tracks and road courses, and kind of like a very much like a series for veterans and whatnot. But that's just us, you know, reminiscing. But I think that this really was when the truck series like just was an absolute slam dunk in everything. The fact that the truck series came in 95 and was as good as it was right away was just incredible. I don't think people didn't think it was going to succeed. And it was like the best event every weekend, and it's still providing some of the best racing to this day. So yeah, I definitely learned that basically the truck series has been baller since like day one. So
Yeah, and I think at this point, a big aspect of it is like there's a lot of money in it. I think that's really helping it. You know, it really is at this point in 1995, even at this like beyond halfway through the season, it's still like an experiment. You know, it's its first year. If it doesn't work, NASCAR can scrap it and move on. It's just a flash in the pan because of the popularity of truck sales, full-size truck sales in North America that boomed this series, and demand for more NASCAR racing and NASCAR events from people. So, like, you know, as time has gone on, I feel like the series, you know, the popularity of the sport has gone down. Therefore, the demand of it is not there. Therefore, like a series like this, you can definitely see going away. But I feel like it's so ingrained within American culture with how truck sales are so big, how trucks are such a staple in this country, that like to have representation within stock car racing of trucks is pretty dope. And I think it's important, and I think we shouldn't like skimp on that, because, you know, once we lose truck racing like this, I mean, you see how the popularity of off-road racing isn't where it was in the 90s and especially in the 80s. I mean, it's still very popular, but like, there's always like more niche things to find. But I love the truck series. I wish it just was a little more cost friendly, but you can say you wish it was this and you wish it was that, but you're not the one in the boardroom making the decisions. And that's always the hardest like pair of pants to be in. I wouldn't, or skirt, I don't care. I don't want to be in that position in the boardroom. But man, there was good money in this series back in the day. I mean, Dodge would give you 10 grand, man, for winning. It's good money. And they also gave you a brand new Dodge Ram.
To speak to what you said, James, like about being in the boardroom making these decisions, Nicole and I were joking about that the other day, how people always think that if they were in charge, they would make better decisions. And then once you become in charge, you realize why the people in charge made the decisions that they did.
Yeah, there's so many things that influence one decision. Like people get mad because it's like, I hate that. Pepsi doesn't sponsor Hendrick Motorsports anymore. Oh, I'm gonna boycott Mountain Dew. It's like, why are you gonna boycott Mountain Dew for making PepsiCo for making
delicious, friends? Okay, like come on.
I have not tried Major Watermelon yet, so I don't know about.
We don't have their new flavor. Mountain Dew. All we're allowed to have here is regular Mountain Dew.
Oh, Code Red's where it's at. But I don't get the backlash like that when you don't understand that Hendrick Motorsports probably was asking for more money than Mountain Dew or PepsiCo really wanted to spend in that kind of space, and saw that they could probably get more bang for their buck doing other things and diversify into other markets that aren't you guys. No offense to you guys. There's just other things to be had. Look at Miller Lite. Like,
they're gone.
I love Miller. I love everything they did. Don Miller did an amazing job in motorsports. And it's a shame that they're gone. It really is. Cause I like Miller Lite. It's keto kind of, but it's an interesting brand, but what they're doing on their own, their activations are so great. And it's worth the investment that they're putting in to do these different activations rather than spending the marketing money on stock car racing.
It all comes back to ROI, right? It's your return on investment. Like, what are you getting out of this? I just did a pitch the other day and talked about ROI for like an hour. It was horrible, but yeah, it's all about what are you getting out of it based on what you're putting in. So, that's what it comes down to. But James, before we go crazy off topic, we really should just take the time to rate this race.
All right, we'll rate it. What's Hornaday's number? 16. It's a 10.6. No.
I was gonna say that's a little
that's off those Richter scales or the rating scales. I'd give it a 7. I mean, here's the thing. I always love the truck series races. I love watching like the seasons from 95 through 99. They're always great. They go to some different locations. You get some interesting broadcasting networks that provide coverage. It's a great race because of the location, the kind of race it is, and the racing that's presented, but got no timing and scoring. Everyone's all over the place in a booth with some things that are going on. You get really great insights though from from Ernie and from Larry, but I'd recommend the ASA race the day after the Mellow Yellow 300K. I'd recommend that over this race.
Was it the same broadcast crew?
No, I think that's like actually more of like a production from ASA actually.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's a different booth.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it like a 6 because like it was a decent race. So it's a cool racetrack, awesome camera angles. We had the Winston Select bridge cam, so that was awesome. But Hornaday led 58 laps. There wasn't really a lot of racing near the front. Good battling for in the top 5 at times. But again, with no timing and scoring and not really hearing a lot of stories throughout the pack, like Jack Sprague finished 7th and you wouldn't know.
No, he didn't get coverage.
We never
no
heard
coverage
about
at
him.
all. Yeah.
So
you didn't even know. You didn't even hear his name in the race.
Yeah. So that's a little annoying.
And plus the upload doesn't help too.
I like Rick Benjamin a lot. And I've worked like with Rick Benjamin before, and he was a little off his game. I gotta call you off, Rick. Oh, Rick, you're a little off your game in this race, man. You didn't know when it was the white flag. You didn't know how many laps before the halftime. If we ever get Rick on, we'll roast him about this race for sure. But
we'll probably ask him whatever race he was the most fatigued at, because he probably was feeling the heat in Topeka because it was hot, hot in Topeka, man.
So yeah, I give it a 6. So average, so that's 13, average 6.5. So
It's a 6.5.
That's a decent race. That's like a C.
Go watch the ASA race the day after. I know this is an important race. It's the first ever road course race for the Truck Series. A lot of firsts that happen in it, but other than the fun facts you'll gain, I think you'll have a lot more fun watching the ASA race. Just saying.
Yeah. Thanks to Austin Laplante for uploading the race to YouTube. That's with the version that we watched for the purposes of recording this.
And you'll find podcast. You'll find it when you turn on the race and it just starts. Like literally, like the green flag's about to drop. We
waste no time. We just get going. There's no keys to the race or anything like that.
No halfway break either. You don't blame it on Austin. It's all in the VHS recorder.
Yeah, if you watch some of the earlier races like Saugus and that, you'll actually get a halftime break where Ralph Shaheen's like sticking a microphone in people's faces while they're sitting in their trucks. So just watch the whole 95 season. It's a great season. Like James said, 95 to 99 are some awesome seasons to watch. Pretty much all the races are on YouTube.
Oh yeah, so, I love 97 the best because no one runs better than Marty Reed. No one runs better than him up and down pit road, getting those interviews during the halfway breaks. He was really adorable to watch doing that back in the day.
Yeah. So halfway breaks aren't new, folks. They're a fun idea. They were doing them in the Truck Series for years. So I think it was a fun podcast. James, it was fun to talk about it's always fun to talk about the Truck Series.
I love trucks.
Not sure what we're going to cover next. We're going to try and get an interview for the next podcast, but it's been tough with all the racing series starting again to get people, but we'll figure it out. We'll get somebody or we'll review another race. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe our friends from Blue Emu could help us out maybe with finding some guests or a guest. We might have a few we could work with them on.
Definitely. So thanks everyone for listening. And thanks of course to our partners at Blue Emu for everything they do for us and for providing just maximum strength relief to people all over the United States.
That's right. It works fast. You won't stink, and you can
great for hunters because you don't stink, no smell. You can use it when you're out hunting.
You'd be skiing, and you'd be like, "Brah, I have no pain while I ski," and they'd be like, "Brah, that's epic."
So fun fact, James, I actually gave a container of Blue Emu Super Strength to James Leitz, who is an IMSA photographer at the Daytona 24, because he said that his legs were killing him, and I said, "Here, try this." And I gave it to him and I let him keep it. And he said it worked amazing and he's going to buy it from now on. So Blue Emu, folks.
That's how you make a sale happen, folks. Mark is really just a salesman. Like, 1950 salesmen, they didn't go away. They just became Mark. Yeah.
I just go around plugging stuff, I get it from my dad.
Well, there's plugging things and there's also having the product on hand to give it.
Hey, I have Blue Emu with me everywhere I go.
I mean, I do too. But I give people continuous spray because it's like, bro, this is mine, man. Go get your own.
I got a cupboard full, so I don't mind sharing. But thanks everyone for listening or watching. If you're watching the video version, you can follow Flashback to the Track on Twitter, Instagram at flashback_track. We're also on Facebook. Just search for Flashback to the Track. If you want to follow James on social media, you can follow him at I Want to Believe NASCAR. And if you want to follow me, I am no longer at Facts NASCAR. The page has come to an end. It ran its course. I had fun with it. But you can follow me on my personal account at murbanvideo if you want to follow me on social media. So there we are.
There we are. Now, folks, get ready. Because guess what? We do it again next week and again and again and again and again. It's back. There's the finger guns. We'll see you. You all be safe. Have fun. Be nice to each other. Wash your hands. And just remember, every day gets better. And you all have a good one now, you hear?
Y'all come back now, here.